Welcome to the Plausible Lie Podcast. The following presentation deals with mature subject matter, and listener discretion is advised.
In the quiet, unassuming town of Silver Creek, nestled deep within the Appalachian foothills, life moved at a different pace. Here, everyone knew their neighbors, and the rhythm of daily life was as predictable as the changing seasons. But on a sweltering Sunday morning, the tranquility would be shattered, revealing a darkness that had long festered beneath the surface. It was July 6th, just after 8 a.m., when the call came into Silver Creek Sheriff's Department. A welfare check. Eleanor Reed, known effectively as Ellie, the town librarian, hadn't shown up for work, and her best friend Sarah Jenkins was worried. What deputies found inside of Ellie's quaint Victorian home on Elm Street would forever alter the fabric of the seemingly beautiful and peaceful community.
You see a lot in this line of work, but this wasn't your typical Silver Creek incident. We're talking petty theft, maybe a bar fight. Not this.
Detective Thomas Miller, a man whose weathered face bore the marks of 3 decades in law enforcement, was the first on the scene. He'd navigated the winding roads and hidden hollows of Silver Creek his entire career, but nothing had prepared him for the scene inside of Ellie Reed's home.
Yeah, she was in her living room, sitting in her favorite armchair, a book still open on her lap. It looked peaceful, almost. Too peaceful. And like she'd drifted off.
At first glance, it appeared to be a tragic natural death, perhaps a heart attack. Ellie had a known history of minor cardiac issues, but Detective Miller's instincts, honed in by years of uncovering hidden truth, screamed otherwise. There was an unsettled stillness, an unnatural order to the scene. It just didn't sit right with him.
The house was immaculate. No sign of a struggle, no forced entry, but there was a faint, almost imperceptible scent in the air. It was something I couldn't quite place at first, like bitter almonds.
That subtle, almost overlooked detail, the faint scent of almonds, would become the first crucial clue in a complex web of deception. It was a thread that would lead Detective Miller down a dark path, exposing small-town secrets, illicit affairs, and generations-old pact that had just claimed its first victim. Who was Eleanor Reed? Well, to the residents of Silver Creek, she was just a quiet, unassuming librarian, a constant presence in the small town's beloved library. But as investigators began to peel back the layers of her life, they discovered that even the most ordinary lives can conceal extraordinary depths and sometimes dangerous truths.
Ellie, she was my best friend. As we were kids, we grew up together in this town. She was always so grounded, like a steady flame. She loved her books, yes, but she loved this town even more. She truly did.
Sarah Jenkins, Ellie's lifelong confidant, painted a picture of a woman deeply rooted in her community, yet Sarah also revealed a subtle, unsettling shift in Ellie's demeanor in the weeks leading up to her death. A quiet unease that had begun to surface.
Well, she'd been acting different, distracted, and she had a heavy weight on her mind. She'd always been a worrier, but this was more profound. She'd get these distant looks, and sometimes she'd just trail off mid-sentence as if she was listening to a conversation that only she could hear. Very strange.
Sarah vividly recalled a conversation just days before Ellie's murder. A conversation that now, in the chilling light of hindsight, sent shivers down her spine.
We were having our usual Tuesday coffee at the diner, and she just blurted out, "Sarah, sometimes I think this town, it's not what it seems." I laughed it off, of course. Said, "Ellie, this is Silver Creek, not some spy novel." But her eyes, they were so wide, so earnest. She said, "No, I mean it. There are things people here desperately want to keep hidden."
But what were these things that Ellie was referring to? Was it merely the overactive imagination of a librarian immersed in fiction, or had she genuinely stumbled upon a sinister reality? Detective Miller initially focused on the immediate circumstances of Ellie's death, soon found himself drawn into the middle of the currents of Silver Creek's long and complex past.
We started out standard procedure, digging into her life. That's when things started getting intriguing. Ellie wasn't just reading novels. She was conducting serious research. Deep dives into the local history, obscure land deeds, intricate family trees.
Yeah, so it kind of threw you for a loop.
Information most people wouldn't even know existed, let alone bothered with.
Tucked away in a hidden compartment within Ellie's antique desk, investigators discovered a worn leather-bound journal. It wasn't a personal diary, but rather a meticulously kept record of her research. It was filled with cryptic notes and precise dates and names that repeatedly surfaced throughout Silver Creek's history. Hidden within its pages, the journal hinted at a long-forgotten agreement, a pact forged between the founding families of Silver Creek. A pact that seemed to involve not just a significant piece of land, but something far more valuable than mere property.
They had names circled. The Thompsons, the Abernethys, the Caldwells, all the prominent families in town. And next to their names, she'd scrawled phrases like original signatories and keepers of the silence. It was all very dramatic, like something ripped from the pages of one of her own mystery novels.
But this was no fiction. This was Silver Creek. And Eleanor Reed, the quiet librarian, had apparently been on the precipice of uncovering a truth that some in this town would go to extreme lengths to keep buried. A truth that would ultimately cost her everything. With the autopsy confirming Detective Miller's suspicion that Ellie Reed had been poisoned with a lethal dose of cyanide, the same chemical responsible for that faint almond scent, the investigation officially escalated from the tragic accident to a calculated murder. The tranquil facade of Silver Creek had crumbled, revealing a crime scene. And suddenly, every resident was a potential suspect.
Cyanide. That's not a substance you just stumble upon. This wasn't a random act. This was personal. Someone deliberately intended to end Ellie Reed's life.
In any murder investigation, the immediate focus often turns to those who are closest to the victim. In Ellie's case, that led Detective Miller directly to Mark Peterson. A recent arrival to Silver Creek, Peterson had been involved in a brief, tumultuous relationship with Ellie that had ended abruptly just a few months prior. The perfect suspect.
Peterson was volatile, to say the least. We had reports of him arguing with Ellie outside the library on more than one occasion. His background check revealed a history of domestic disturbances in previous towns, so you fit the profile. Jilted, angry lover.
Well, it didn't take long for Mark Peterson to quickly become the primary suspect. The town's unofficial historian, the chief gossip, Mr. Abernathy, was more than eager to fan the flames of suspicion.
Look, that Mark Peterson? Probably always had a temper, that one. Ellie was far too good for him, and everyone here knew it. He was constantly trying to convince her to leave Silver Creek. But Ellie, bless her heart, she loved this town too much. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if he was behind all this. He was lurking around even after she broke it off, you know that?
Well, indeed, the initial evidence seemed to overwhelmingly point towards Peterson. A witness claimed to have seen his car near Ellie's house the night before her body was discovered. He had no verifiable alibi for the estimated time of death. And when Detective Miller brought him in for questioning, Peterson's demeanor was anything but cooperative.
Mr. Peterson, can you account for your whereabouts between 10 p.m. on July 5th and 8 a.m. on July 6th?
I was home alone. Alone. What's it to you? You think I killed Ellie? You're out of your mind. She was a good woman and I loved her.
Despite his vehement protest, Mark Peterson was taken into custody for further questioning. Local newspapers ran sensational headlines speculating about the disgruntled lover and the tragic end of a small-town romance. It appeared to be an open and shut case. For Detective Miller, even the skeptic, harbored a nagging doubt. The Pieces he felt just didn't quite fit.
Yeah, he was angry, all right. But it was a certain coldness missing. He didn't possess that calculated detachment that you see in someone capable of such a precise, insidious act. The cyanide? It just didn't feel like his method. He was more like a brute force kind of a guy. React first, think later. I just didn't like it.
The crucial piece of information that would ultimately dismantle the first red herring came from an unexpected source. A security camera, a gas station nearly 50 miles away, far from the quiet streets of Silver Creek.
Turns out Peterson had a late-night craving for a very specific brand of beef jerky, sold exclusively at this one gas station. Timestamp on the receipt, combined with the grainy security footage we found, placed him precisely there at 11 p.m. on July the 5th. There was no way he could have returned to Silver Creek and poisoned Ellie at the time of her death. Just no way.
Well, there you have it. Mark Peterson was officially cleared. The obvious suspect, the jilted lover, proved out to be nothing more than a dead end. Silver Creek breathed a collective sigh of relief, but for Detective Miller, the case had just become infinitely more complex. The killer, he remained at large, hidden in plain sight, and the deeply bruised secrets of Silver Creek were only just beginning to surface. Well, now with Mark Peterson definitely cleared, Detective Miller found himself back at square one. The town, still reeling from the shock of Ellie Reed's murder, began to whisper, speculate. Who else in their close-knit community could harbor such a dark secret? The answer, as it turned out, lay hidden in plain sight, behind the polished, imposing door of Silver Creek's most respected institution, the mayor's office.
We cast a wider net. We started looking at everyone in Ellie's orbit. I mean, everyone. Friends, colleagues, even distant acquaintances. And that's when we uncovered a series of discreet phone calls, late-night text messages, and a pattern of clandestine meetings that simply didn't align with the professional relationship between town librarian and a mayor.
The individual on the other end of those hush calls and intimate texts was none other than Mayor Robert Thompson, a man revered in Silver Creek, a seemingly unwavering pillar of the community, and, as the evidence was now undeniably suggesting, Eleanor Reed's secret lover.
Mayor Thompson. No, absolutely not. He's Mayor Reed. And Ellie would never. She was so proper, so by the book. It just doesn't make any sense. It can't be true.
Sarah Jenkins, Ellie's closest friend, was incredulous. The notion of a clandestine affair between the quiet, unassuming librarian and the town charismatic, morally upright mayor seemed utterly impossible. But as Detective Miller meticulously presented the accumulating evidence, a new, far more complex portrait of Eleanor Reed began to emerge.
But we located a burner phone, carefully concealed at Ellie's home. Only one number was programmed into it, and it was Mayor Thompson's. It's a private, unlisted line. And the messages exchanged, well, they weren't all about library budgets or town council meetings. They were deeply personal, intimate, filled with a longing that spoke volumes.
The revelation of the affair sent shockwaves throughout Silver Creek. The town's moral compass, Mayor Thompson, was now embroiled in a scandal, threatened to utterly dismantle his meticulously constructed public image. And with the scandal came a powerful, undeniable new motive: a murder.
He stood to lose everything. His impeccable reputation, his political career, think about it, his marriage, his family. If that affair became public knowledge, it would have utterly destroyed him. And Ellie, she was the only one that held up power over him, the power to expose him.
And when confronted with this irrefutable evidence, Mayor Thompson he denied everything. He dismissed the calls as official business, the texts, unfortunate misinterpretations. But Detective Miller, armed with the damning contents of Ellie's burner phone, pressed harder, his questioning unwavering.
Detective, I assure you my relationship with Ms. Reed was at all times purely professional. She was a valued member of our community. These accusations are, frankly, preposterous, an insult.
But the mayor's carefully cultivated composure began to crack. The polished facade of the benevolent leader, protector of Silver Creek, started to crumble under the relentless weight of the truth. And it was Mr. Abernathy, the town's unofficial historian and the keeper of its deepest secrets, who provided the crucial, chilling context, hinting at far more insidious reasons for the mayor's desperate need for secrecy.
Yeah, the Thompsons, you see, well, they've always been careful, extremely careful. We have a great deal to protect, far more than just a reputation. There's the pact, you understand? The old pact. It binds them all, and if one falls, detective, they all fall.
The pact? Mr. Abernathy's cryptic words echoed the unsettling notes found in Ellie's journal. A secret agreement, passed down through the generations that seemed to hold the very key to Silver Creek's hidden history? Was Ellie's affair with Mayor Thompson merely a tragic love story, or was it a dangerous entanglement with a secret society that would stop at nothing, even murder, to protect its ancient legacy? The word pact had been whispered in hushed and almost reverent tones throughout Silver Creek for generations. It was a relic of the town's very founding and dusty legend, passed down from the grandparents to grandchild, a cautionary tale. But for Eleanor Reed, the quiet librarian, it was far more than just a story. It was a complex puzzle it relentlessly determined to solve. Profound truth, she believed, was being deliberately and dangerously obscured.
Oh, the pact. Everyone knows about the pact. In a way, it's woven into the very foundations of this town. The original families, you see, the Thompsons, the Caldwells, the Abernathys, and a few others, they came here, settled this land, and they made an agreement, a solemn promise, to protect their interest and to protect something else, something far more valuable.
Mr. Abernathy, the town's unofficial historian, he became an invaluable, if somewhat rambling source of information for Detective Miller. He spoke not of gold or jewels, but of hidden treasure far more significant than the founding families. A rare, highly valuable mineral deposit discovered centuries ago that quietly, secretly fueled their prosperity for generations.
It's not in any official history book, mind you. Not the ones they teach in school. My great-grandfather, he was one of the original signatories. He kept the private ledger, a secret record, and in it, it speaks of the silver vein, a mineral, a unique to this very region, incredibly valuable, and kept profoundly secret. The pact, you see, was designed to ensure the secret remained buried and that the immense wealth remained exclusively within those founding families.
This silver vein was the true hidden legacy of Silver Creek, and the pact, forged in secrecy, was its ironclad guardian. For generations, the descendant of those founding families meticulously upheld the silence, ensuring their prosperity remained unchallenged and their power absolute. While Eleanor Reed, in her relentless, meticulous research, had stumbled upon the undeniable truth.
Ellie's journal, it wasn't just about the family. It was about the land itself. She'd cross-reference old survey maps with obscure geological reports. She was getting incredibly close, dangerously close.
It became chillingly clear that Ellie's affair with Mayor Thompson was not just a merely personal transgression, a tragic love story gone wrong. It was a dangerous, volatile intersection of personal lives and deeply entrenched, century-old secrets. Ellie, with her keen intellect and unwavering sense of justice, had likely used her intimate access to the mayor to piece together the final damning clues of the pact.
He was very excited about something those last few weeks. He kept telling me, I'm on the verge of something monumental, Sarah, something that will change everything. I honestly thought she'd met a new book club or maybe a grant for the library. I never in my wildest dream imagined this.
Mayor Thompson, the direct descendant of one of the pact's original signatories, he found himself caught in an impossible, desperate bind. His secret affair with Ellie, combined with her imminent discovery of the silver vein, threatened to expose not only his personal life, but also the very foundation of his family's power. their immense wealth, and the carefully constructed legacy of Silver Creek itself.
I tried to reason with her. I begged her to stop. I told her it was too dangerous. She didn't understand the profound implications. She was so righteous, so unruly. She said the truth had to come out for the good of the town, for justice.
Well, the truth in Silver Creek was a commodity more dangerous than any mineral. And Eleanor Reed, the quiet librarian, had become its most ardent and ultimately its most tragic champion. Stage was now set for the final devastating confrontation, not just between a determined detective and a desperate suspect, but between the forces of undeniable truth and the centuries-old suffocating silence of Silver Creek. The intricate pieces of the puzzle were finally irrevocably falling into place. Quiet librarian, clandestine affair, the ancient binding pact, the hidden generational wealth. Detective Miller knew with chilling certainty that he had found his killer. The final showdown would not take place in the shadowy alley, but within the stark, unforgiving confines of the Silver Creek Sheriff's Department, under the harsh, revealing glare of fluorescent lights.
Mayor Thompson, we know about you and Ellie. We know about the burner phone, and we know about the pact. Silver Rain. Ellie was onto it, wasn't she? It was about to expose all
I have already stated my relationship with Ms. Reed was purely professional. And as for these fantastical stories about pacts and hidden veins, they are nothing more than the ramblings of an old man, Mr. Abernathy, who has clearly tragically lost his grip on reality.
But Detective Miller had one final devastating card in his hand. A recording down on Ellie's burner phone. A voicemail that she had desperately left for Sarah Jenkins just hours before her death. A voicemail that captured Ellie's escalating fear and offered a chilling and undeniable glimpse into her final terrifying moments.
Sarah, it's me. I think I'm in serious trouble. I know about the pact. I know about the silver vein. And I think he knows I know. He's here. He's at the door. Oh God, Sarah.
The profound, agonizing silence that followed Ellie's final, desperate message hung heavily in the interrogation room. Mayor Thompson meticulously constructed a facade, but it finally broke and shattered. His shoulders slumped, his face drained of all color, revealing the defeated man beneath the powerful exterior.
She wouldn't listen. I tried to warn her. I begged her to stop. She was so determined. She said she was going to expose everything, the pact, the wealth. She said it was wrong, that it was all built on lies. She called it a stain on the town's soul.
But you killed her. You silenced her.
I had no choice. It wasn't just me, it was generations. This entire town is built on that secret. If it came out, everything would collapse. My family, our legacy, it would all be utterly destroyed. Everything we built.
Mayor Robert Thompson confessed he had gone to Ellie's house that fateful night, not to continue their illicit affair, but to silence her permanently. He had poisoned her tea, a cruel, bitter irony, given Ellie's cherished ritual of quiet evenings with a book and a warm drink. He had then meticulously staged the scene, carefully arranging every detail to resemble a natural death, believing his powerful position and the town's ingrained culture of secrecy would protect him from ever being discovered.
He thought he was untouchable. He truly believed the silence of Silver Creek would cover his tracks forever. But Ellie, she was too intelligent. She left us a trail, a breadcrumb, a final desperate message, and it led us directly to him.
Mayor Robert Thompson was arrested and formally charged with the brutal murder of Eleanor Reed. The news ripped through Silver Creek like a wildfire, tearing apart the meticulously maintained illusion of a peaceful, idyllic town. The trial was swift, the evidence against him overwhelming, and the verdict in the end was inevitable. He was sentenced to life in prison.
It's a relief, I suppose. Finally know who did it. To have some form of justice, but it doesn't bring Ellie back. And it doesn't change what this town truly is. All those secrets, all those lies. Makes you just wonder what else is buried here, waiting to be uncovered.
The Silver Creek Pact, the hidden mineral wealth, the generations of enforced silence, all of it was dragged into the harsh light of day during the sensational trial. The town of Silver Creek was forced, for the first time, to confront its own complicity, its own willing blindness for the sake of prosperity and tradition. But even with the truth exposed, a profound, unsettling question continues to linger.
The silver vein, they say it's still there, deep under the ground. And the pack, well, it might be broken in name, but the spirit of it, that's harder to kill. People here, they've always known how to keep quiet, how to protect what's theirs, no matter the cost.
Now, the silence of Silver Creek was irrevocably shattered by Eleanor Reed's murder. But a new, more profound kind of silence has now settled over the town, a silence born not of ignorance, but of a chilling, undeniable knowledge. The knowledge that some secrets, won violently unearthed, can never truly be reburied. They linger like ghosts in the very air. And as for the silver vein, the source of so much hidden wealth and so much devastating deception, well, its exact location remains a mystery, known only to a select powerful few and perhaps to the earth itself. The town's prosperity, built on generations of concealed truth, now stands on a precarious, shaky ground. But the insidious lure of that hidden wealth, the seductive promise of continued silence, still hangs heavy in the air, a silent, ever-present threat. This has been The Silence of Silver Creek. Join us next time as we delve into another tale of hidden truth and darkness that lurks just beneath the surface of seemingly ordinary life. Thanks for listening. Catch you next time.